and welcome to Revenue Through Reputation. And look, as people are coming in, do me a favor, tell me who you are, where you're at. I want to encourage you today to have questions, push back if you think I'm wrong. But let's make this a very valuable dialogue in the show format, because today's topic is extremely important, and I've done a lot of research on it in the last I'm going to say few weeks, but it's been about the last 8 weeks. And so, look, before we get started, I'm excited, and I'm sorry, my brain's going a bunch of different directions. I'm excited about this topic, and this is a topic that we are going to be talking about for the rest of the year. It is that trust is, I called it the most misunderstood word, because I think there's so many definitions for trust. And most marketing teams and leadership teams that are directing content right now have an old definition or interpretation or belief around how trust is built in a digital environment. And therefore, their pipelines are reflecting that. So, but before we get into all that today, I want to introduce myself again. I'm Brandon Lee. I am the founder of Fist Bump. But I think more important than that, I have been doing content for leaders since 1998. And I know that it tells everybody my age. I've been around a while. I turned 55 this month. I'm not afraid to say it. But through my experience over the years, and in the 90s and the early aughts, we were using content through print means. And then in 2012, I started moving into more digital, more produced YouTube and social content, video content for blogs. But here's the thing that's ran through all of it. The most valuable content is when leaders are sharing their journey. They're sharing who they are, how they think, what they've experienced, good and bad. That type of content has transcended the different mediums, whether it's print or video or written. It doesn't really matter, because that's the type of content that hits the human heart. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about trust. If you are on the podcast, this is a newer show for me. I would really be grateful if you like it. Give me a review, maybe screen capture it on your phone and share it with people that you think could find value in it. I mean, I'm talking to CEOs, to sales leaders, even to some CMOs and marketing leaders. Generally, it's B2B professional service companies has been really who I've worked with, again, since 1998. So, and if you're on LinkedIn and you haven't seen it yet, we have the Revenue Through Reputation page. We're not streaming on that page yet. I think we need a few more followers over there. So if you find it, go there, follow it. That'd help us stream over there as well. And if you're on YouTube, either Fist Bump or my personal YouTube channel, and you want to subscribe, I'd appreciate it. But hey, let's really get into this. And I mean, this is so important for me today. I actually printed out all my notes because I didn't want to forget anything. So again, I want to invite you, if you have questions or comments around this topic, please add them to the comments. Let me bring you up on screen and join the conversation, even if you think I'm wrong. So, hey, I want to start today with this statement, and you're going to find that I've got some one-liner statements that I'm going to make today, and then I'm going to explain it. The first thing is, let's set the stage. Let's set the stage for today. I know that a lot of us have been creating content, and so we feel or we believe that we've been doing this well. And I don't want to fault anybody, not even myself or my team, because we've been doing what we thought we were supposed to do. My research has showed me that many of us are creating content like it's 2014 still. HubSpot, inbound, creating trust by sharing things like unique value propositions, our what we do for our clients. Remember when everybody was talking about it, you don't tell anybody what you do, you tell them what you do for clients. And at the time, there was nothing wrong with that. But what you'll see is we talk about a lot of this 2014 white papers, social proof, our unique value proposition, some of our testimonials, all good, but not producing fruit. I want you to hear me on that. I'm not saying those were bad. I just think they've played out their time, and time has moved on, and people, our buyers, ourselves, because we have so much content options out there now, we engage with content very differently than we did in 2014. So I'm going to make this statement and then I'm going to explain it. Leaders aren't brand spokespersons anymore. They're trust creators. And if they're not building trust, then they're forgotten. And that's why so many of us, we feel like we've been doing the right work and we feel like we're not invisible because we're creating content, whether it's blogs or newsletters or social content. And for a while, even I was saying like, hey, we just need to do more of it. And it's not about more. There's so much noise with AI. People are doing more. It's not about more. And we're not invisible because we're not creating content. We become invisible because of the type of content that we've been sharing. It's content like 2014, not 2025. So if you're not a trust creator, you're forgotten. So I want to make sure, like, even with me and my team, and I had to say this to myself because I started going, oh, stupid, I should know better. But this is a time of, EGA, EGR, extra grace required for ourselves. We just want to call out why our efforts haven't been working and then what we can do better. So what hasn't been working, we're checking the boxes, we're creating content. That's why so many, I counted this morning, I've had 3 direct messages from people offering me AI tools for content. Obviously, they haven't looked at my profile or anything like that, but 3 of them, what does that tell you, is that right now people are running towards AI tools for content. And that means more people are going to be checking the boxes that we created content. But that type of content is going to be highly ignored. It's just more noise. So the push for all of us is it's even more important for us now to move to this trust created, this executive trust content, which is our executive journey content, as a way to be different than anything else that's out there. And here's the thing for all of us. If we don't do this and our competitors do, they're going to win. Here's my story, and I'm going to not say our names, but I was speaking with a CEO of a company. He had been in his industry for over 30 years, well respected, done a great job, been with some big name companies. But his question for me was, hey, Brandon, help me understand this. There's this kid in my industry, and he's killing it on LinkedIn, and my content barely gets any likes and very rarely gets comments. And when I looked at this kid in the industry, it was because this kid was creating executive trust type of content. He was sharing his journey. He was younger and had a whole lot less experience, but the type of content he was sharing was what he was learning, what he was observing, where he was struggling, the mistakes he's made, the successes he had. He was inviting a community into his own leadership journey through his content. And the other person, the experienced one, his content was great content. but it's not great for getting engagement and followers and building trust. It was educating, it was teaching. It was like the older gentleman's content was he was on a stage giving a keynote, and the other younger person's content was like he was in a circle with a bunch of friends or acquaintances, and he was talking about his own journey, his successes, his failures, his struggles, his emotions, and invited everybody into that as a conversation. So I hope that illustration really helps us all kind of see the difference between the type of content that's working and not working. So we're going to move into why trust doesn't mean what we have thought it meant. In 2014, around about 2014, trust was built through branded content. We used case studies. It was polished. It was perfect. Lawyers reviewed it, right? Compliance reviewed it. It was perfect to brand standards, and it worked in 2014. In 2025, what works is a authentic executive voice where it's shared consistently and it's shared emotionally. Now, there's some buzzwords in there, and I just don't know how to get around using some of these buzzwords. And I hate the word authentic because it's been so overused and bastardized, in my opinion. But what I find interesting about authentic is it is the right word. Be honest, be truthful, bring people into your journey. But it's where we share things like, hey, what I was thinking about this week in my industry. This scared me. This worried me. This is what I'm observing in the industry. This is what I feel is going to happen, or this is a mistake that I made because I felt this way, and here's what I learned from it. It's more of that personal journey content. And guys, look, I'm a Gen Xer, and when I learned business in like the late 80s into the 90s, and then really in the early aughts when I was sitting into my mid 30s and really, growing an $18 million company, we didn't speak this way. We didn't show the warts. We didn't show the pain. Fake it until you make it was a common expression that we talked about and we followed. And so I remember things like when one of the first times I was asked to speak at a conference, I was so stressed out, and I hired somebody to help me be polished and perfect. And I went and I gave a speech. And when we give speeches today, people tune out because they don't want polished. They don't want brand messages. They don't want us hiding behind a press release soundbite. Our audience just tunes out of that. So if you're creating that type of content and feel like you're checking the boxes, but your content isn't really producing more new opportunities. I mean, one of the most frustrating things I think is when we create a bunch of content and you look and you're like, oh my gosh, we had 17 likes. And then you click on the number and it pops up and you realize that 15 of them are your team members, and the other 2 are like your neighbor and somebody you used to work with 10 years ago who's no longer in the industry. We're creating a lot of content without audience. So, we've heard this, that people don't trust brands, they trust people. And as trite as that sounds, it's really what we have to lean into. And so if your executives are invisible, or worse, they're forgotten because the content they are producing is very published, very polished. It runs through 5 different editors and make sure that we're not looking stupid. The challenge is it's not being engaged. You're forgettable. You're spending a lot of time creating content. You're spending a lot of money creating content, and it's content that's not producing. So everything from If your LinkedIn profile and your about section and your banner and your headline, if any of that sounds like a brochure, it sounds like something you would say from the podium with thousands of people in the audience instead of something you would say in a circle with 4 or 5 people, then it's probably not going to produce as well as you'd want it to work for you. And basically, if no one's really following your content, they're not engaging with your content, then they're not trusting. And if they're not trusting, then you're not having impact. We're not having impact. Now, I will say this, and let's call it what it is. I'm 6 episodes into this new show of Revenue Through Reputation. I'm used to, with Mastering Modern Selling, I think we're up almost to 140 episodes. We've been doing it for about 3 years, and we get 50, 80, 100 people that register, and the moment we go live, people are commenting and they're like, hey, I'm here, I'm from here, and all that stuff. And it's really awesome. And now my new show, I'm not getting that. I'm getting a lot of crickets, but it's all part of the process. And, it's that balance of, if my content isn't getting engagement, then they're not trusting me. Or your content isn't getting enough engagement, you just need more time. And there's a balance there. And I'm struggling with that right now. It's really hard for me when I come on the show and I see not as many people registered and not as many people commenting. And it starts to hurt my ego. And I'm like, should I not do this? I mean, this is a thing I talk to all of our fist bump clients with their shows to say, man, don't even worry about the first 10 to 15 episodes. They're just laying foundations. You can't get to episode 20 unless you get 1 and 5 and 8 and 12 and all those done. And it takes people a while to start showing up. But what we can do to help ourselves is not just showing up, but maybe tweaking our content. I'll share with you my own journey as I've shared, being Gen X. I've created a lot of content over the years that has had very, very little effect because it was polished. I created content like I was on a podium, speaking to an audience, and not in a circle chatting with a bunch of colleagues and having a casual, honest, authentic conversation. So what's really happening with all this, whether you're on the marketing side, you're on a CEO side, you're on a sales leader or a CMO side, when it comes to all of our, whatever terms you're using, lead generation or demand creation, the funnels are linear, and we try to get a whole bunch of people at the top. And for most companies, it's just dying there because people aren't going any further. But here's the thing, it's a shift in focus. And I'll talk about this in another episode. There's a trust-driven flywheel that our research has created. And I'll talk about it in a second. But trust isn't linear. As much as we as sellers, as company owners, we want to believe that trust is linear, it's not. Especially in this highly dynamic, lots of content, lots of ways that people can engage, right? We engage with content in so many different ways that trust isn't linear. It happens over time, and it could happen from, seeing somebody on Instagram and then seeing what they're doing on LinkedIn and maybe watching a video or hearing a podcast or seeing them on someone else's show. Like, trust isn't this linear process. And so many of our sales motions are linear, but buyers don't act linear. And so when we're looking at this trust concept, we've got to think that buyers are going to do their own behavior, and we just need to be there, inviting them constantly through the style and tone of our content to come and join us in this process. So, hey, Frank Gustafson, thank you so much for the comment and being on with us. I appreciate it. I was just saying, man, it's hard sometimes when you look at it and you're like, man, no one's commenting. And, it's hard for all of us. And I get it. Like, we feel like we're talking in a box, but we got to start and we got to keep going. And the more that we're sharing what's really happening and we're sharing our journey is when more people start to engage with us. So moving in, what's really happening is we're not invisible. We're just forgettable. We're just forgettable. And that's a bummer. It's a bummer when we finally get a thanks everybody. Jeff and Juana and Butch, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for that. I appreciate the little pat on the back. I really like it. And Jeff, you appreciate the candor and want to share your learning. Thank you. Awesome. You're right. The openness is a trust builder. And that's it. When I say that, Jeff, when I say what we need to do is invite people into our journey, it's that openness and that willingness to say, man, I've screwed up. Like, I'm in content and I was still making mistakes of not bringing people on in the journey. I mean, I kept forgetting not to be on the podium and to be in the circle. It's funny, at church, they talk about moving from the rows to the circles, meaning don't just come on Sundays and sit in the pews and check the box, but during the week, get in a circle with other people and share life with them. That's really where learning takes place. And it's a great visual for our content because it's the same thing. If we're just standing at the podium, we're going to be forgotten. But if we're in the circle and we're sharing heartfelt journey, that's where we're going to be remembered. So when we share, here's the frustration, I think, for a lot of leaders. I'm doing this. I've been doing it. Or our marketing team's creating a lot of content. We got content covered. And then we go back on the sales side and we're like, okay, well, we got to make 200 calls a day because we're not producing the opportunities. Now, what if we shifted the style of content you're creating to fit the way 2025 buyers actually act and behave and what they're looking for? And if that shift, then we go back on the sales side and we realize that we don't need to burn out our team by making 200 and 300 calls and getting less than 0.5% response rate. I mean, the numbers on this side of the business they're awful. It's torturous what I believe a lot of companies are doing to their team. They're having them make hundreds and hundreds of calls to get one conversation, knowing that they need 6 or 7 conversations to turn it into an opportunity, and they still need 3 opportunities to get one of them to close. I mean, that's really daunting, and it's really just burning out a lot of people. And then we're turning through. So what if we were able to change that content style and we're able to get more people that not only hear it, but they engage and they remember, and we touch the emotion of the heart. Now, here's one big thing about this, and for people to remember. I'm going to share a story with one of our existing clients. When I met with the CEO and we were talking about leader-led content and doing a show and personal branding, and we're in it for, 15, 20 minutes. I go, I got a question for you. Why me? Like, why me? Why now? What brought this to the surface? And I loved it. And it was this big aha moment for me to remember this deeper. Is he said, he actually kind of started laughing. And I think what he was going through was, I can't believe I'm going to say this, right? This isn't what we're supposed to say in business. That was the look that he got on his face. I should probably go back and ask him. But he said, well, a couple years ago, you had a post on LinkedIn. And it was you and your daughter, one of your daughters, hiking. And the picture caught my attention because I like to hike also with my kids. He goes, but then your content was about how you weren't expecting the trail to be a mess because of a storm. And you equate it to growing businesses, how sometimes storms happen and the path that we thought we were going to take isn't as clean and easy as we expected it to be. So what happened there? The picture, me with my daughter, me in dad mode, combined with a business explanation made me memorable. I was bringing anyone along in my personal journey. I'm out hiking. What am I observing? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And I brought those together by taking a picture on the trail and then bringing it into, this is what I was thinking about when I was on the trail. And I was thinking about it on the trail because my business was in a season, like many of us, where our sales motions weren't producing the fruit that we wanted. And oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And how are we going to do things different? That is a really good example of how our uniqueness, bringing people along the journey with us, it gets remembered so much more than any sort of brochure type of information is going to do for any of us. For any of us. So I know some of you on here, Butch and Jeff for sure, love to hear some of your stories of where your content was inviting people into your journey, into your leadership, into your experience, into your thoughts, into your personal life a little bit. Do we dare say personal life? But when you're in a circle chatting with people, what do we talk about? We talk more from our humanity, and we're at a podium. We talk from our title and our brand. So if our goal is to speak more like we're in a circle, we do talk more about the human side, and we use it as analogies, or we just share about it because that's what humans do. So we're going to move on to what I've called on here is segment 3, but I want to talk about this trust-driven flywheel. Trust is such a misunderstood word because we believed since 2014, if we share our unique value proposition and we're clear on not what we do, but what we do for our clients, and then we share case studies and we have our social proof, that we will be trusted and we will stand out. And my point is, all that's good. I just don't believe it's enough, because you've got so many competitors that are doing the same thing. And you have other companies peripheral to you. They may not be a direct competitor on the product side, but they're competing for attention with your buyers as well. So buyers are just so inundated, and it's all the same message. It's all forgettable content, right? It's just forgettable content. Unless they need it right now, it's very forgettable content. But when you share something you've learned, you've shared a failure, you've shared hiking with your daughter, and there was an expectation that was unmet, and you got a challenge rise in front of you. Well, that's got place in the human heart and the human brain to stick, to stay, to be remembered. When it's more unique, but it's also that emotional, it's visual. It gives them an easier place to hang it in their memory or in their heart, to remember it and to remember you. And in 2025, that's one of the biggest challenges right now. There's just so many companies competing for attention. And if we're all doing 2014 style content, then we're all the same. I mean, it reminds me of The Incredibles. I love that cartoon, The Incredibles. Remember when in the first one, the villain who turns himself into basically an incredible with his own technology and everything. And he says something along the lines of, if we're all incredible, then no one's incredible. And that's really what's happened with our content. Like, everybody's followed the same playbook. Here's our unique value proposition. Here's what we do for our clients. And therefore, none of it matters. None of it stands out. So the trust-driven growth flywheel it's about visibility as a starting point. We need to be there. But as I said before, for a lot of us, it's not that we're invisible, it's that we're forgotten. So visibility is still important. That's the first part of the flywheel. Familiarity. That moves more into the leadership side. If our goal is creating emotional connection, which is the next part of it, visibility, executive journey content, I hate to say it, but authentic, honest, real, right? 2014 content was predictable, polished, boring, brochure, and forgettable. 2025 content has to be real, honest, bold, sincere. Because what buyers are doing, even though sometimes they don't even know they're doing it. I mean, think about this for you. What we want to know is we want to know who you really, really, really are. And if we know who you really, really, really are, then we're going to remember you. And the only way that people can know who you really, really, really are is if you get rid of the fluff and you start sharing the real. And you be authentic and transparent and share the journey. Now, anyone listening to this doesn't mean you go full open kimono. You don't have to share everything. Think about you're in that circle again. What are topics that you're comfortable sharing there? You may not be comfortable. You may not previously have been comfortable sharing those from a podium, but you're comfortable sharing them in a circle. And CEOs and leaders and CMOs, we may not like this, but what we used to share comfortably on a podium and what we used to share comfortably in a circle, if we want to be remembered, we want to stand out, we want to help our companies grow, we want to help our salespeople get more calls and our content to have more influence and effect, we have to take what used to be a circle conversation and move it up to the podium. That's real. That's authentic. And if people want to really, really, really know you, in order to say yes to a call, or really, really, really know you in order to say yes to a call to someone on your team, or feel connected to your brand and remember you, then that's what we have to do. So visibility is about consistency. It's about doing it in similar format with some nuances. That's why I love shows so much. They're easy for CEOs to do, to be consistent. And you can have episodes like this where you're by yourself. You could have episodes with guests. You can have episodes with your team as guests, and all kinds of different formats. So you've got to be consistent. You need that visibility, but it's really about that executive journey content to create that emotional connection that creates trust, that creates the conversations. Now, I've got a graphic on this. I'm not going to show it here today. I could. I'll wait. I'm not going to show that today. But there's an example. I was looking at different posts, and I don't remember who this was, but it was a CFO who created a post about their toughest day of their career because they were laid off as part of the team in transition and acquisition and things like that. And what he did was he didn't come in and blame the market. He didn't come in and blame the acquisition. He owned it. And he started talking about things that he was learning in the process of it. And of course, we know this, right? I think if you're listening to this, you kind of know where it goes. When somebody is that authentic and real and transparent, the post went viral. There's, thousands of likes and hundreds of comments. And I think he came back within a couple of weeks and said, "Oh yeah, I got another job." Off of a post. One post. Now I know many of us, we're not out looking for jobs. We're trying to help our company grow. But what I want you to take from that in the trust-driven flywheel, the visibility with the executive journey content is about creating emotional connection. So the executive journey content has to be heartfelt. It has to be real. It has to be the struggle, right? You remember the hero's journey, right? People don't want to connect. They don't easily connect with somebody who has a perfect life. Who they connect with is a person that shows their wounds and their sores and their blood and their challenge, and then shows you how they overcame it. And that's the micro strategy of what we do with executive journey content. If our goal is creating emotional connection and trust. So, we started this whole conversation with the title of this is trust is the most misunderstood word in B2B. And it's not so much trust is misunderstood, I guess. It's how we create trust has been totally misunderstood because we're following a playbook from 2014 that 11 years later is just not working. And we wonder why. Hey, we're doing it. We're doing the content. We're writing the blogs. We're doing this. We go to social. Our marketing team's got social covered. But what is it producing for you? And the right answer isn't, oh, well, LinkedIn is long tail. It takes a long time. No, it doesn't. The story I just shared with you, one post, had lots of engagement and a job within a few weeks to a month. It's not the platform that takes forever. It's the style of content that doesn't connect emotionally, and so it doesn't move the needle quickly. So there's the challenge of the style of content that you create and getting out of our comfort zone and sharing the journey. And hey, look, it's 2025. We're not sharing anything like, look, I remember, and I can't remember Mark Hunter, Anthony Iannarino on my other show, both of them probably. And they said, when we have one-on-one dinner with the CEO and we get to ask them like, so what's really going on? Or what are you really scared of? And so many of them, big companies, people who would not admit this in public, like, man, I don't even know what I'm doing. Everything's changing so quickly. I'm scared. I don't know if I'm making the right decisions. Well, guess what? We all do that. And when you share that in our content, people resonate with it because they're like, I is that too. Like, me too. And then they want to follow, they want to connect, they want to hear how we're going to go about solving it. And that's what it means to lead with executive content. We're leading with vulnerability. We're leading with our own thoughts and our own experiences. We don't have to be the traditional thought leader term, but if we're sharing our thoughts from our personal journey, well, then we're leading with thoughts. We are a thought leader on how we're approaching, how we're handling, how we're thinking, how we're solving, how we're failing, how we're succeeding. So trust starts when our content reveals the human behind the title. I'll repeat that again. Trust starts when the content reveals the person, the human, the emotion, the realness behind their title. And that's why people, when I say they want to really, really, really know us. And so we have to put that type of content out there or else they won't know us. And if they don't know us, they're going to move on to someone else. We will be forgettable and we will be left behind. So executive voice is the executive journey content. It's what we would say in the circle. It's what we would say over a cup of coffee with a fellow leader. That marketing voice, that polished voice, it's what would belong in a brochure. But when it comes to demand creation and building reputation, we cannot hide behind brochure content. There's a time and a place for brochure content, but it's not in the demand creation side. Because again, people don't care about your product or service until they know that you care about them. And the only way that you demonstrate that is by sharing your journey. So our executive journey content needs to make people feel something, not just know something. They need to feel something. And that's why the way we help them feel is by sharing our journey, our thoughts, our fears, our struggles, our successes. I see Anthony Carlson on here, and Anthony has been doing a great job with content and sharing from emotion and getting people that feel from his content and feel that they already know you. I mean, how many of you guys out there that do this, you get on a call with somebody or you go to a live event and somebody comes up and goes, "Hey, I know you." And you don't know them, but they know you because your content helped them feel like they already know you. That's the type of content we need from the executive journey, from the executive voice. So remember, visibility and then executive voice content, right? With that consistency. And then that creates that familiarity and that emotional connection that leads to conversations and trust, and therefore the opportunities that comes from it. So share your journey, not the content. Document your leadership. Don't just perform it. I mean, that one's big, right? Document your leadership journey. Invite people in along the path with you. Don't just tell them about it. I've made that mistake for so long, guys. I've made that mistake. And I know it's part of that era that I learned business in. Fake it till you make it. Don't show your fear. Don't say anything unless you're certain you're right. Like, those were all things. If you're Gen X or baby boomers, throw me a shout out. That was the advice that we were given over and over again. A stern warning. If you don't know what you're saying, don't speak, right? But we live in an environment now where we can actually invite people into the process. You could even say, I'm not even sure if I really believe this, but what I've been thinking about is, and invite other people to come along with you. So you can't outsource trust. Leaders, you are the head of your company. CEO, you're the head. Sales leaders, you're ahead of the sales team. CMO, you're ahead of marketing. COOs are others. You can't outsource your trust, which means if you're relying on AI to create your content, you're not building trust. And that's why we may have a lot of activity without a lot of results. You can't build pipeline if your buyers don't actually believe in you. And cold calling and mass amounts of cold emails, because we just got the right message. We have the right subject line. Again, in 2025, if they don't know you or feel like they know you, gone. Not hitting a memory. So let's wrap up today. Look, for most of you, you've done the work. You've created the content. Maybe, just maybe you're doing the wrong type of content. And today, I would like to challenge my team at Fist Bump, and challenge all of you that have joined us, that maybe you've been producing the wrong type of content. Maybe it's time to get out of the 2014 comfort zone box and do content differently, because trust is not easy to create. It's really easy to lose. It's not a soft word. Trust can be a very strategic weapon. Some of the most successful people I know, and it's something that I failed at for so many years of my career, some of the most successful people I know are those who have the largest, most connected network. And at the foundation of all that is trust. It's because people trust them. People feel like they know them, even if they don't talk to them all the time. They're the ones that can pick up the phone and connect with somebody they haven't talked to in months or years. And that person on the other line goes, "I'm here for you. What can I do? How can I help?" Right? Those are the ones that created trust. They've created it by listening. They've created it by bringing people along with their journey. And guys, in a digital environment, this is just kind of outside of today's topic, but extremely important. In a digital world like LinkedIn, listening is when we comment. I know it's weird, right? The whole 2 ears, 1 mouth, so we should listen more, talk less, doesn't necessarily work in a digital environment. But with LinkedIn, with YouTube, We demonstrate that we listen to people by commenting. And we know that when we listen to people, they like us more than when we talk at people. So therefore, shouldn't commenting be more important than just the content we create? I'm going to leave that one there. We talk about that a lot. So, I had a CEO tell us that their team lost a deal that they were pretty certain that they were going to get. And when it came down to it and they asked why they missed it, the comment was something along, we just felt as a team that we knew the other company better. And as they probed, it was their leadership team created leadership content, were sharing their journey, and they felt more of an emotional connection to that other company. And I believe when Matt, oh gosh, why did I just blank on Matt's name? The Jolt Effect, Matt, I'm so sorry, I just blanked on your name. But when Matt was on that, we were talking about the Jolt Effect. And if you haven't read the book, you should go read it. In his research, one of the big data points was this: humans don't make logical decisions. Like, we didn't know that, right? Anyone that's been in sales, we've been told our whole lives, like, people make emotional decisions with content or facts to support the emotional decision they want to make. So this example of the CEO I talked to when they lost that deal was because the buyers felt more emotionally connected to a different leadership team because that other leadership team put themselves out there. And I asked this leader, I said, well, you have to take a look at your content. Like, how are you portraying yourself? And the easy answer is, marketing creates a lot of content, or we have a team that they've got LinkedIn covered. But if you learn anything else from what we've talked about today, it's not, we don't have a lack of effort. Many of us, we don't have the lack of effort. Some of us do. And if you have a lack of effort, then look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. But a lot of us, it's not the lack of effort. It's the lack of style. We're not producing the style of content that actually invites our audience because we're playing it safe. We're hiding behind fears and imposter syndrome and other things. And so, look, if you feel like your buyers are ignoring you, it's probably not because your solution's wrong, your service is bad, your product is bad. I'm sure that all those are great. They're probably ignoring you because they don't feel like they know you. They don't feel connected to you. They don't trust you. It's not that they don't distrust you. They just don't know you enough to actually trust you. So, everybody, I'm going to wrap up. A lot of this has come from, I've taken kind of a step away for the last couple months. I don't know if you've noticed my content, but I've been doing a lot more research, especially around, hey, what companies have strong pipelines and what companies don't? And what's the difference from this lens around leader content, leader-led content, and LinkedIn, YouTube, and all that? And we've learned a lot. We'll be promoting this, I think, later in the week. But if you're listening and you want in on it, just shoot me a direct message. I've got an executive brief that I've done from all this research about what is really, really, really happening around content. And are we wasting time? And could we shift our focus? Really, a lot of what we spoke about today. But I do it in an executive brief. It's no pitch, no sales, no pitchy, slappy, buy my product, anything like that. It's 25 minutes. It goes through the research. It goes through what the research means and how we can implement some things differently to have a greater opportunity to be successful in our company. So if you have a pipeline that is weak and you are doing content, lead generation, or demand generation like it's 2014, I'm sorry, everybody, you deserve the pipeline you have. We have not adjusted to a 2025 buyer. If we have not adjusted to how people behave in 2025, and we're still doing things from 2014, then guys, we deserve our pipeline. It's like that CRO I was telling you who lost his job. He didn't blame the market. He didn't blame anything else. He said, man, I did not see this. and I will do better in the future. And I think this is that call to action for everybody is you can do better. We can all do better. And everything's getting more competitive. And if this is a competitive advantage, then we need to have the courage to take it on. And as leaders, guys, I get it. I would much rather be on a podium a lot of times than in a circle. I would much rather be on a podium talking about my successes and be like, oh yeah, the $18 million company I built, instead of being in the circle going, yeah, we lost most of our wealth in a Ponzi scheme. And, 5 kids and college funds all put away and married and all that. And to wake up one morning and you realize that most of it's gone and it sucks. And those aren't things I really want to share with the world. It's embarrassing. But I know in 2025 that when we share those stories, people resonate with us more, and they feel that humility, they feel that emotion, and they want to be a part of that instead of the CEO up on stage only sharing the successes. So 2025, man, scars are powerful. Doesn't mean you have to show them all, but building a strategy and a plan about sharing your executive journey and some of that angst is what is helping companies stand out and helping executives stand out. So Frank, Anthony, Butch, others, I can't remember, Juana, thank you so much for being here. Next week, I can't remember, is it Scott Bullis or Scott Lisi as our guest next week? I am sorry, they're both Scotts, but we have a great episode. Scott Bullis, thank you, Hatham. Let me know in our private chat here at Scott Bullis. Scott is a great story. Scott is a baby boomer, was new to content, engaged in embraced, I guess is the right word, embraced this sharing the journey, and has had tremendous success in meeting new people and gaining clients and having fun in this new 2025 style of content creation. So, hey, again, thank you so much. And thank you, Frank. I think you were the first one that gave me a comment in there about Bring It. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that support. And Butch and Juana and Jeff, Anthony, thanks for joining me today. And any topics you think we need to have, shoot me a message. And any people you think need to be on here, shoot me a message. And if you're on the podcast, thank you for the reviews. I would really appreciate the reviews. Same with YouTube. Give me a subscribe. And on LinkedIn, please, I'll put the link in here. Follow the Revenue Through Reputation page as well. And we'll be able to start streaming live on there soon. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Happy Tuesday. Have a great week.